Learning a language is like going on a date with a woman, but making one too many comments about her hair loss. In 1996, Roger Sayers turned his back on his long career as a chemistry teacher in a mediocre school and took a gap year. It was in Hanover. He had the idea of launching his own textbook and tape course to help people learn the English language. This book and eventual video course was sadly not a success and can occasionally be found in Poundland or its older foster brother, Pound Stretcher. Roger Sayers continues to teach English as a foreign language in the UK and has recently put his language intercourse on the net. Before our arranged interview, I received a message on my answer phone.
There's been a slight problem regarding today's interview. My car got repossessed last night. I must have missed a cash shop payment. I'm going to have to wait for the bus that gets from my village to the local town, and then get the bus to Bristol Templemead Station, which is actually 2 buses. Then I get the train to London, so I definitely won't be able to make it at 10 o'clock. Could we make it at 1 p.m?
We rescheduled for 1. I received a second message.
I'm calling from a payphone. I haven't actually got any credit on my mobile phone. My Visa Electron card won't let me even buy a single ticket to Paddington. My daughter has informed me that I could get a mega bus. I'll have to go to an internet cafe. I'll keep you posted.
Half an hour later, I received a third message.
I can't actually book online on the day, but the man said I could buy a ticket on board. If you get another phone call, I won't be on the megabus. If you don't, I'll be on the move on the way to London.
I received another message.
But this bus was sadly full. There's another one in half an hour. There's one in an hour. The next one after that is 2.5 hours.
I received no further message, so assumed he was on his way. A phone call came through at 4 p.m.
I made it to Victoria Coach Station, but I don't have the directions. Can I feasibly walk from Victoria Coach Station?
I contacted Roger Sayers, informing him that I couldn't do the interview today due to my sister India's birthday. I had to postpone until 10 o'clock the next day. The interview went ahead the next day. I got to a point where I wanted to do something different. I'm from a different generation, where we didn't have gap years. I did work away on the Channel Islands for a while. It certainly wasn't on the scale of Peru or Latin American. So you went through a divorce, and your life as a secondary school teacher didn't interest you anymore. That's correct. I and a few other colleagues, we used to have lunch and then do the last couple of lessons and then have a bit of a laugh after hours. This was a few cans of McEwen's Export, racing our pet tortoises in the IT room. Well, we put money on them, but with no wife to avoid, I felt that this activity was a bit pathetic. That was the highlight of my week. It was 1996, and I thought I need to get away, as far away from this as possible. Where did you go? Hanover, but I drove. What started off as a holiday turned into a year off, i.e. a gap year. I was a lodger in a house near the airport. I ended up teaching English to the employees of Lux Soap. This is where you came up with the idea of creating your own language course. It certainly wasn't an overnight affair. I think it was when my language course became popular in the Lux Soap factory, and I started to create my own worksheets. I threw myself into it. Probably the second time I've ever used my imagination. And when was the first time you used your imagination? Sandcastles. Were these the sandcastles that you made on Mindhand Beach as a child? Yes. How do you know? It's written on your piece of paper. Oh, so sorry. I didn't. I did it on the Megabus trip. I didn't want to answer any of your questions with I can't remember. How was the trip, by the way? I've heard better. There was a lot of desperate people and about 2 students. I've got to say that the coach station is probably the most depressing experience I've had since that relate counsellor took my wife's side, and that was a long hour. Why do you think your language course wasn't the success it could have been? The story behind Let's Learn English Yourself, it was a question of the wrong place at the wrong time. Michel Thomas had released a language series, the same week, but for Italian and German. I looked at your course. If you don't mind me saying, it seems a little rushed. There were quite a few spelling mistakes, the cultural references were a bit out of date, and the diversity section was just offensive. Well, that's fair. I mean, when I was writing and producing the textbook, I was working full-time. A lot of the exercises overcomplicated themselves. It is a lesson in itself, this project. You really do have to read through things before you submit them to have them published. Let's Learn English Yourself has been confined to the great pound shop in the sky. You should think about maybe publishing the poems in your unpublished advanced version of the textbook. Well, I originally wrote those poems for my Valentine's Day date. I did a creative writing night school course, but I'm not going to bother. Poems about the River Nile, rare unprotected species of birds, and back pain are not really good subjects for poetry, I've found. I was sorry to hear about the launch of your own language school. The Cribs Causeway Language Academy did not go ahead. As you can tell, I'm not that good with money. Incidentally, could I have the fee you were offering for this interview now? I'm afraid I can't give it to you. It goes straight in your bank account at the end of next month. Oh, okay. So, what's next with your teaching English as a foreign language career? Well, apart from another night in Victoria Coach Station, just the usual timetable. 5 hours a day, paid hourly, pointing at a desk saying, "This is a desk." Then pointing out the window, saying, "This is not a desk, this is a window." Sometimes I get confused and point at the door, and have a whole class of students saying, "I went home and closed the discus behind me." I work as a discus-to-discus salesman, and the worst one was, "I am going to close this discus because there is a massive twat in here." So that entire group used the word discus instead of door? Yes. Roger says, author of Let's Learn English Yourself. Thank you. Pleasure. The Tristan Garrel-Cambridge tapes were written and produced by Tristan Garrel-Cambridge, sound recording by Lloyd Lenderton, and co-written and produced by Lloyd the Measurer. This was recorded in Oval Studios in London city centre.